All right, so in what's called the chessic thinking, or like that whole philosophy around chess and stuff, there's a concept of calculating variations and stuff. And when you read the literature on it and stuff, it doesn't really give you the most effective form of that and stuff. You have to build it by having uh, surrounding or remedial knowledge and stuff first, which pays off. It's a little bit of time spent, but you get actually quite a good effect and stuff. So, yeah, but it's a pretty universal concept in turn-based gaming and stuff. So now for this game here, this is there's I mean obviously there's a cover system. I already have units in cover right now, as you can see and stuff. Now obviously there's a cover system. I have units in cover already, I see. And right now I'm relatively safe and stuff. I've got I've got a certain amount of turns before the attacks start coming in, and before the enemy, and this is an important detail, before the enemy tries to evade what I'm doing and stuff. So I'm looking at these different covers, which vary in quality and stuff, and what my brain is doing is it's thinking about, okay, if I were there and stuff, what's the most aggressive, effective, or most or safest combination I can use and stuff, and then what's my flexibility from there and stuff, and then if I don't have anything satisfying that guarantees a winning position and stuff, I'm gonna think about um, the the more costly options that have an enormously that have a disproportionately high effect to them because of map elements. Like with these pillars here, I can knock them over and not only deny stuff to the enemy and stuff, but deal damage very efficiently and stuff. Um, so that's favorable. And in this game, I have to be very cautious to make sure that at every turn in action, I'm very closely watching the balance of damage and stuff that I'm dealing out and that I'm getting, because in this game, mistakes get punished extremely harshly and stuff. That little mistake you made in the beginning, 20 turns later and stuff, just turns into a total loss, and now you have to redo like, you know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of thinking, whatever, like just all those actions and turns and stuff. But um, that's I think that's a good way of explaining it to carry over into other turn-based games and stuff. Um, because because having a clear concept of those variations is extremely consequential and stuff. It basically lets you know what you're doing without without doing things first and then realizing like, oh, there was like actually 5 other options that I could have considered, 8, 20 other options, whatever, and then I would have, you know, either I could have kept a winning position throughout and stuff. I could have, you know, played anti-positionally out of a forced gambit and stuff, or I could have had a very decisive win with a very clear and balanced position, or I or we could have you know resolved a drawn position into something that was just ever so slightly a win and stuff, um, or just had a Pyrrhic victory because the enemy maybe the enemy could calculate very deep and stuff, or the units pieces the enemy was using were just always performing so well and stuff, and there really wasn't um, a weakness now or later that I could have exploited, you know. And that's a good way of thinking of this type of a thing. But if you're not willing, if a player is not willing to do the mental sweat of thinking about it first, or they're just doing what they want to do because they're forcing the issue, then it's gonna make you lose. So that's that.